You are listening to Veterans Action Report on KGRA Digital Broadcasting. I'm your host, Nick, coming to you live from St. Paul, Minnesota.
And I'm Andrew Canales, coming to you live from Evergreen, Colorado.
Every day, veterans are struggling with many issues spanning from homelessness to mental health crisis, often leading to 22 veterans a day taking their own lives. There are veterans all around the U.S. leading the fight to help guide our brothers and sisters to a better life. We will bring you stories from all around the country, telling tales of veteran struggles and triumph. Every episode benefits veteran-run nonprofits Warriors Next Adventure, helping veterans fight PTSD through recreational therapy and new adventures. And Houses for Warriors, helping solve the homeless crisis, leading veterans to a better lifestyle. What's going on, everybody? I love that intro still. I made it. I'm a little biased, but I like the music. I like what it all came out to, so I'm bragging a little bit. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to week 3 of Veterans Action Report. I am really excited for today. We have Steve from X-22 Adventures on. I got a little bit of things coming up here. I will be likely getting surgery again in the next 2 weeks or so. Long story short, a lot of you guys know that I'm kind of going through the whole cancer thing with testicular cancer. The good thing is all you got to do is cut them out and no more cancer. So in about probably 2 weeks here, I'll be losing the other one. So I'll be a little lighter, if you know what I mean. So that week, I'll be doing some pre-recorded. So we still will be live. It's just going to be some pre-recorded stuff while I heal up. I'm going to do my best to be on live if I can. I'm a stubborn bastard, so I'm probably going to be. I just wanted to talk a little bit here. In the last week, last Monday to be precise, we had a little issue. So for many of you that don't know, Warriors Next Adventure is a nonprofit that I started back in 2019 to help veterans with suicide prevention and PTSD. So the main thing that I was struggling with is the veteran crisis lines, because I personally called it once and I sat on hold for 15, 20 minutes, and it happens, right? So they can only have enough people doing it. So I figured, why not have one more? And so I started the Warriors Next Adventure Crisis Hotline. So it's the phone number that you see on the website is my personal number. It's the nonprofit number. It's the 24/7 number. I will answer the phone. If I don't answer, I will call you back. And to date, we've had 79 suicide calls, and 79 of them are still alive. So I would say that's a number to be proud of. I don't brag often, but I'm happy about that one. But we also do crisis intervention work. So I have 8 years as a state patrol dispatcher for Minnesota, and I specialize in crisis intervention. So I lost count of how many suicide calls I had while I was there. But before then, I was 6 years Air Force Security Forces, and we specialize in verbal judo, right? It means nothing unless you actually practice at it, right? And then I was lucky enough to take a class that was with the FBI that was involved in hostage negotiation tactics. So I've gotten really good at using words to essentially manipulate people to doing what I want them to do. In law enforcement, you need to persuade people to not fight with you or anything like that. So I started doing the crisis intervention for Warriors Next Adventure, and I actually got a call on Monday. Now, I'm not going to give names. I'm not going to give details, but all I got to say is I'm pissed off about the situation. Forgive me if I get emotional about this one, because I don't like losing people, So I get a phone call saying, hey, there's a crisis going on. It's been about 45 minutes, and we need some help finding this kid. And so I went to work. What I did was I ended up calling the command post of the base that he was from, because he was active Air Force. And I called him, and they never called the locals. And this is 45 minutes in. Come to find out, about 45 minutes or so in, they finally called OSI, which is the investigations. Still, not one person started a track on his phone. And that pissed me off to no end, because as I was a dispatcher, that's one of the first things you do when you have somebody who's suicidal, because we need to find them. We can't do anything for this person if we can't find them. So I ended up calling the locals myself. I called the locals, told them what was going on. And initially they told me, well, we can't start a trace unless they call. I'm like, this guy said he's going to kill himself. I don't think he's calling you. And so I talked to the supervisor, told him what was going on, told him who I was, gave them my credentials, and said, we need to start a trace on his phone now. So by this time, it was about an hour in, and shortly after, I got a phone call stating that they found him, but he was being flown to the hospital, and that usually doesn't mean anything good. And then about 5 minutes after that, I found out that he had successfully taken his own life. Now, the reason why this just kills me is because if they would have just started that trace 30 minutes sooner, we probably could have found him. And again, I'm getting emotional about this, and I tell people all the time, I don't hide from my emotions, and if you're going to make fun of me for it, yeah, fuck you. So I personally, I take this personally. I struggled myself with suicide. As many of you heard on the first show, I had a failed attempt in 2015, and then I decided to take that and actually make my life about helping as many veterans as I can get out of those situations. And when it happens because of lack of training and just ignorance, it pisses me off to no end. So I personally am going to be fighting with the Air Force as much as I can to help them get a better program out there for this kind of crisis. I'm offering my services to anybody in that general area, anybody involved in crisis intervention. I'm offering my services. I'm not saying I'm better than anybody, but when it comes to veterans, I'm damn good at what I do. So I just want to get that rant out of the way. It pisses me off to no end when it's not taken seriously, and people die because of ignorance, and I will always call that out. Okay, let's lighten the mood a little bit. So today my guest is Steve Cohn from X-22 Adventures. Steve started his nonprofit last year, and holy crap, has it just exploded. I'm super proud of this guy. He gave me a call last year on like February or so, and we chat a little bit, and X-22 was born, and I've never seen somebody hit the ground running with an idea and turn it into something. So I'm extremely proud of him. He's got a really cool trip coming up. We'll talk about it at some point in the episode, and he's got an amazing story, and I'm going to let him tell it. So, Steve, how are you?
I'm doing great. Nick, how you doing?
I'm doing okay. Sorry about that rant there. It just
oh no. I trust me. I felt that gut wrench when we talked the other day, when we talked about it that night.
That tore me up.
I was the same way. You can ask the people around me that night. I was not a happy camper at all, knowing that something could have been done.
Well, it's something. Yeah, it's just it should be the first thing that you do. Is find this person's phone. For a moment his phone was off, but I ended up calling it, and it actually rang through. And so I called state again, or I called locals again, say, hey, his phone is active again. Get this thing going.
Right.
It was active. The trace was, and then it was shortly after that I found out that he had taken his own life. So we were too late. I know I did everything that I could. There's nothing else I could have done, and I just wish I was contacted sooner. So anybody listening, if you ever know of any veteran who is in some sort of crisis and you're afraid that he might take his own life, please call me. It is very easy to find my number. Warriors Next Adventure. Go to the bottom of the page. Anyway, Steve.
I'm the same way, brother. I'm the same way.
So, Steve, we met back in February on the phone last year, and we had a little conversation. And you have a phenomenal story. Let's go back to your time in the Air Force and what kind of started this whole thing going.
I served from 88 to 92, so I was in during Desert Storm. And I was in I was a plumber to start out with, and civil engineering.
You started out as a plumber?
I started out as a plumber. Actually, I was supposed to be a crew chief on Blackhawks, but you know how recruiters are. We won't go there.
Kind of like they told me I was going to be jumping out of airplanes and stuff.
Oh, yeah. Like that. Yep. Know the exact feeling. Anyhow, ended up being a plumber for a little bit, and ended up going to joining the crash rescue and recovery team, and then the rodeo team. So I was busy doing construction. A lot of the things I ended up turning was the fire suppression systems. So I did that for a while, and we had an incident where we had to shut down a system manually because the pumps wouldn't shut down with just push a button. And I ended up slipping and cracking my kneecap in 3 places.
Ooh.
Yeah. Oh, that felt wonderful. Ended up
brain
having
damage.
surgery.
I don't remember some of the stories, so it's like I'm hearing it for the first time.
Ended up getting the kneecap fixed, but a couple of pieces of bone fragments was left in the cartilage. Okay, I didn't know. Discharged in 92 and become a firefighter locally. So after 8 years, I had to think there for a minute, being a firefighter, crawling, climbing, kneeling, crawling, destroying knees, a simple slip in oil at the firehouse destroyed the rest of my knee. I ended up having a total of 12 surgeries on it.
Oh, so what was the span of the surgeries? When did it start, and when was your last one?
First surgery was February of '99. And then from there, 8 more surgeries in the next 48 months. I was supposed to have a total knee at the beginning. The workers' compensation company said no. The other options didn't work. Still ended up with a total knee 48 months later. 4 months after the total knee was in, it was broke by the doctor because of scar tissue. And so we stopped working on the knee for 7 years. And it was
so what happened in that 7-year thing? Like, were you just popping pills, or what was going on?
Oh, well, it started out with, we're going to put you on pain management and you'll be able to control your medications through this way, and we'll get you help with your leg, yada, yada, yada. Well, it was simple narcotics at first. And of course, you know how it goes. The body gets used to it. They start giving you more. And the more they give you, the more they want to keep you quiet. And at one point in time, I was taking 120 milligrams of Percocet, 120 milligrams of methadone, and 120 milligrams or 160 milligrams of Oxycontin a day.
Dude, your liver must be destroyed, man.
Yeah, it ain't great. I did that for 3 years. I was on pain management for a total of 15. Until one day I finally realized that I've got to live, quit being so gorked out of my mind that didn't care. And I told the doctor we're doing it. 18 months from that time, I was pill free and still in pain.
So, okay. So when did you just decide, screw it, just take my leg?
That was after December of 16. The pain got so intense that I couldn't take it no more, and I was not going to get back on pain management, and I was done. So I put a pistol to my head December 26th of 16 and pulled the trigger. I'm here. Of course, it went click, and I inspected the bullet. Everything looked fine. I put it back in the pistol, pulled the hammer again, and it went off when I pulled it at the ground. So good Lord kept me here. That was December of 16. And once that happened, it's like, okay, something's got to change. And the VA said, well, we can possibly do an operation where we can lock the leg in place where it no longer bends, or amputation. And I looked at them and it's like, amputation? They said, yeah. And I noticed in the hospitals, the VA hospitals, these guys walking around on prosthesis, and it's like, I talked to them and I said, man, how do you deal with pain, yada, yada, yada? And they said every once in a while they have phantom pains. Some have that all the time. And it's like, well, is it compared to this? And they said, it's nothing like I had. Theirs was minor. And so I made the decision, told the VA to cut it off in January 17. Unfortunately, the orthopedic surgeons thought I was nuts when I requested this. So I ended up sitting on the couch for a few hours, total of 6, actually. 3 different psych doctors, and all 3 of the psych doctors told the orthopedics, cut it off. Then the VA doctor says, I'm too chicken shit to do it.
Oh, were you surprised?
Oh, no. This was the head orthopedic surgeon for the entire state of Michigan, the whole state. The head man, and he said he was too chicken shit to do it. So I limped around for another 3 years until that fateful day that Trump signed the Community Care Act. And it wasn't just a few days after that, I get a phone call from an orthopedic surgeon to report to their office 2 days after that. He looked at my leg and he looked at the reports and he said, Mr. Cohn, you have 2 options. 1, we can fuse the leg in place where it no longer bends. And I said, Doc, that's already what I'm at now. I had a range of motion of 10 degrees, so it was a straight leg. And he said, the other option is cut it off. And I said, that's why I'm here. He said, when you want it done? I said, as soon as possible. He said, how about next week? And it was like, oh, shit, really?
What was going through your head when you finally decided, hey, just cut my leg off? Like, that's not something people just say, yeah, well, let's get rid of it.
Yeah, it took me about 18 months of heavy searching, soul searching, to come to the realization that the leg is causing me more pain and more agony than it would be if I didn't have it. As you know, fishing is a passion of mine that is no other. It's like hunters and anybody that likes the outdoors. And in a 2.5 year time frame right before the amputation, I went fishing twice at a private pond that I actually had access to anytime I wanted to go. And the reason I didn't go is because I could not walk in grass that was any higher than 3 inches due to that leg. So I said, take it. They did. They took the leg February 10th of last year. And about 2 weeks later is when I seen your video and talking about the hiking trips. And it's like, man, I need to talk to this guy. And so that's how me and you hooked up, and I am so thankful for it. And for it, I don't want to say you helped me, because you say you don't want, so you haven't, but dude, you have.
I just don't like when people say that I saved their life or I changed their life, because I don't want that on me, because you got to think who's the one that called me. Right? You didn't
change my life. I changed my life. You just gave me a good swift kick in the ass to.
There you go. I got that steel boot, man.
Forward. Yeah. and that's what happened. July 3rd of last year, or actually, yeah, July 3rd of last year, somebody on Facebook pissed me off to the point where I went off and made a video and posted on YouTube, and people like, holy shit, you got pissed. And I realized, the passion that I had for that, and because of people talking about veterans don't deserve this, or why do veterans get a discount here and there? And it's like, hey, you know what? I don't ask for it all the time. And especially before my leg was taken, it's not in my DNA, but there are. And so is what it is.
The discount's there. It's not like we don't deserve it, right? It's just they're just doing it because they want to appreciate. There's nothing wrong with that.
And so now I do get them, and I got to talking to. I called you that afternoon, and it's like, man, I just got this gut feeling. You said go ahead and do it, and later that night I pushed the button, and lo and behold, X-22 Adventures is born.
So let's go back to the phone call, right? So, Steve, I have this phone call with a lot of people, and again, I appreciate you calling me, because the last thing I want is somebody sitting there struggling, right? From what I got from that phone call, you weren't really struggling, but you're just trying to figure out, like, what is next? What am I supposed to do with my life?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that
got off the streets.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that are stuck there, and I don't want people being stuck there, right? So a lot of depression and anxiety and all this stuff comes from, you're thinking too much of your past instead of what your future could be. And so people get stuck in this rut of thinking about, like, oh, well, what if this, what if that, what if this? And that's not productive, because it doesn't help anybody. All it does is cause more anxiety within yourself. And so all you have to do is stop and think, like, you know what? First off, we have to accept all of these things, right? So my 6 principles, I'm going to do a show on my 6 principles eventually, so everybody kind of knows what I'm talking about, because I continue to talk about them, but I've never actually told anybody what they are yet on the show. But one of the principles is we have to accept our past. In order to move on and move forward in life, we have to accept the fact that the things that happened in our life, they're done. It happened, and we can't do anything about it. All we can do is just accept the fact that, you know what? My choices led me to here, and this is what happened. This was a result of what happened, or, of my decisions. And I tell people all the time, like, listen, where you are in life is a result of your decisions. I don't care what has happened to you. I'm not saying, it's a good thing that something happened, like, especially the guys deployed who have had some horrible things happen. I had some shitty things happen to me overseas too, but it doesn't mean it's okay. It just means that, hey, it happened. We cannot stop that. We can't change it. We can't go back. But what we can do now is we can reevaluate our lives, and we can look at, what can we do better, right? And what is my purpose? There's a book I tell everybody to read called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. It's a fantastic book. I personally have read it 5 times this year. I'm kind of a nerd, so I don't really listen to music. All I do is listen to audiobooks. But some of the most successful people in the world all have a definite purpose, right? So I always ask people, what's your purpose? Like, why are you here? And a lot of people don't know. And I said, it is your duty. You know, I tell people my saying on responsibility and duty to serve and have a purpose, right? It's your responsibility to find out what your purpose is in this life. Once you find it, it's your duty to give it back. You know, and so that's the conversation that we had. Like, what is your purpose? Like, what do you love? You know, I remember asking you, well, what do you love? What do you love to do? And you said, well, I like fishing. I'm like, well, shit, I like fishing too. But I told you, well, what about starting a nonprofit for fishing? I was like, I don't have anybody in Florida. I was like, but I don't really want to expand yet, because I was initially thinking like maybe I could have you be an extension of WNA, but I wasn't ready for that part yet.
Right.
And I was like, dude, just go for it. And you're like, I don't know the first thing. Well, I just started mine and I have no clue what I'm doing, but it's doing very well. So why don't I help you? And you, Steve, were the drive behind me starting my sole proprietorship. And I help people start nonprofits. And you were the first one that I actually helped get started. Now, you did all the work. And I don't want anybody thinking I'm taking credit for this. Steve did everything. All I did was lay out everything that he needed to do. And then boom, here you are. Now you're getting ready to do one hell of a trip, dude.
Oh, yeah, dude. I've been itching to talk about this thing for months now. And I didn't know if I really was serious about this or not. And finally, it's like, you know what? And what really, really got me pushed over the edge to get this going was the phone call me and you had last week, losing him. That's what this right here stands for. Crossing out the 22 suicides a day. And if you look at it, part of the two's covered up, part of the two's not. We know we can't stop them all, but by God, we can slow them down.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's like, you know what? People don't know how many suicides a day happen between veterans and public safety before COVID and now because of COVID. 37. That's 27 vets and 10 public safety on the average per day take their life due to the things that they've seen.
Well, they're even talking now, like the updated number for even veterans is closer to 30 now after the pandemic,
exactly.
It's sad.
And it's going to, and with the way the media has been over the last year with law enforcement, we're losing a lot more cops because of all of that, the stuff they protected. And now they're saying they can't do this or they're not allowed to do that. And I wanted to help. And so it's like, you know what? Let's bring this to light. And how we're going to do it is we're going to take a boat trip from Jacksonville, Florida to Pensacola, Florida. That's 1,300.
You're crazy.
Crazy? Yeah, I've been called that a few times on this. That's 1,350 miles around the state.
Okay, so real quick, let's frame this. So you are going to have a different veteran with you every day, correct?
2.
You're going to have 2 veterans with you. Okay, so how's it going to work? You're going to start off in Jacksonville.
Right.
What port are you starting out at?
We haven't nailed that down yet on a lot of them.
Still in the planning stage?
A lot of it's in the planning stages, but we've got it in the news locally. I do have one town that is completely locked in, and keep your fingers crossed. Got some great news that'll be coming with that particular event.
Good.
I'm excited for it because if it works out, somebody's going to be a happy, happy, happy person.
So you actually have, I'll let you say, like, do you have any notable veterans that are actually going to be with you guys?
Yeah. Shiloh Harris is a friend of mine, and we accidentally met due to X-22. He was on a speaking tour on the East Coast, and he asked somebody if he knew anybody that could take him and his wife fishing just to get away for a day. and our name happened to pop up. How? I think it was through Randy Tucker and a friend of his in Orlando. I'm not 100% sure. But anyway, I get a phone call from Jamie, Shiloh's wife, and said, "Hey, can we go fishing this weekend?" And she goes, "I know it's short notice." And I said, "Absolutely. We'll
For
do
you,
whatever
yes.
whatever it takes to let y'all go fishing. Let's do it." And they said,
there's a
okay.
win-win there. I know you
yeah.
don't want to say it, but I'm going to say it. There's a win-win there, right? So
Oh,
TJ,
yeah.
from the episode last week, TJ always says, 1 + 1 = 3 in the nonprofit
Yeah.
world, right? So
We've been
again,
saying that
TJ
for a
Christ is
while.
the one that says it, and he's a genius for saying it, right? So having Shiloh come fishing with you completes 2 tasks, right? 1,
Yes.
you get a veteran on the water. 2, it gets your name out there because Shiloh's huge, right?
Yes.
But it's not just the fact that he's huge. I've watched so many of his speeches. He is such an inspiration, in the veteran community. And if you don't know who Shiloh Harris is, go look him up because he's an awesome dude. I personally haven't talked to him yet, but Steve's going to hook us up and we're going to get him on the show too. But
yeah, I'll be getting a message to him this afternoon once we're done to say, hey, you need to get a hold of this guy. He,
do you remember the day
amazing.
that you told me, hey, I'm going to have Shiloh Harris? I'm like, wait, Shiloh Harris? Like Shiloh Harris? I'm like, get the get out of here. Yeah. I called you. I'm like, dude, this is huge for you. I was so happy for you, man.
And when that happened, it was like I took a deep breath and said, thinking things are going to explode, and then COVID hit. Is what it is. Well, oh well. But it helped us slow down and get things in order to be able to announce this trip coming up. We're making 22 stops along the way, representing the 22 suicides a day, even though they're up. The numbers are up now. And from each port, from Jacksonville, there's going to be 2 veterans and or public safety, or a combination of both. Probably more veterans than anybody, but it's from there. They'll ride 60 to 75 miles. That night they'll get off, and whatever fish is caught that day, they'll go home with. The next morning, 2 more get on. They make the next leg, and then the next leg, and the next leg, and the next leg.
I got quite a few veterans in the Florida area, so if you do need people, let me know. I'll send them right to you.
I actually send them to the webpage.
Okay.
There is an application to go, and I want as many as I can get. I would love to have more than 44. Is it the
Grand Slam fishing?
No, that's actually giveaways.
Okay. Where is it on your website here that they can sign up?
Where the heck did it go? That's
so these are all the dates of where you're going to be stopping?
Yeah, these are all the dates we're going to be stopping. Yeah. I'm sitting here trying to move that page that you're messing with.
So for those of you listening on radio and not listening on the podcast, I'm showing his website here. If you go to X-22adventures.org, you'll see, you go to the upcoming events, you see year 2022, the Florida Adventure, starting in Jacksonville and then finishing up in Pensacola area. You can see all the stops. And if you're interested in joining, going with Steve, hop on the website.
If you go to the top of that, where you click, it says upcoming events.
Mm-hmm.
Where the adventure.
Oh, there it
is. Click that. Click. Yep.
There you go. Adventure around Florida application.
There you go.
Sweet. Easy enough.
It's real simple. Just to let me know your name, number, and that way we can get in contact and find out if there's any disabilities, because I am an amputee, and so I'm going to need a little bit of help around it. But so we're going to accommodate as many people as we can, and if we can have more than one boat make this trip, by God, let's do it.
So I got a question for you.
Yeah.
You are still working on a boat for this, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so what kind of boat are you looking for? So what we're going to do is, what I want to use this radio broadcast for is to help out as many veterans as possible, right? And that goes for veteran nonprofits. There's a reason why I'm having you on, Steve. There's a lot of listeners. I think one of our episodes had like 12,000 listeners or something like that.
Oh, no shit.
So if anybody listening to this is willing to help out X-22, contact their Facebook, contact their Instagram, and let's get these guys a boat. There's plenty of people. We talk all the time. I think we talk I want to say we talk like 2-3 times a week or something like that.
Oh yeah. Easy.
Yeah. So get a hold of Steve, and we're talking about sponsors. We're trying to work out sponsors who want to help him out. We're trying to find veterans who want to go with, but the main thing is we need to get these guys a boat, right? We've been talking about that. You've been using your mom's boat for a while, the pontoon.
Yeah.
So, and I went fishing with you on my documentary tour, which, by the way, was a hell of a good time. You and Randy are goofballs, man. So I want everybody who goes fishing with these guys, you will laugh. If you don't, you have no feelings.
Something's wrong. Well, when I say I'm going to take you fishing, I'm going to take you fishing. I don't guarantee we're going to catch a fish at all. I don't guarantee that at all. But I do guarantee we will have a good time and a lot of laughing, a lot of crying, a lot of soul searching, a lot of everything.
That's the one thing I love about you, Steve, is, you and I are very similar when it comes to talking about the real stuff, right? Sitting around BS and talking about girls and military. Yeah, it's all fun.
Yeah.
But the real reason is like, let's get down to business. Let's figure out what are some of the things that are really holding us back from, excelling and having a better life, right? We need to figure out what are some of the reasons why we tend to hold ourselves back, because it's usually yourself. You just need to figure out what is the issue. Yeah. And even us, we had Jeremy Sestala. Jeremy he's a We Defy athlete he was riding with me on that part of the tour. And we talked a little bit about Iraq and Afghanistan, and he was a Marine sniper, and him and Randy had a really good conversation. I was listening. I'm always listening, but he was talking about some things that he hadn't opened up about yet, and you guys provided an environment that was actually easy to start talking about those things. So I personally thank you for providing that.
And that's exactly what it's all about. When people hear my whole story and find out that, okay, I thought I was going to be in the Air Force, make it a career. Well, nope, that didn't happen. Come home, got in the fire department, thought I was going to make that a career. Nope, that didn't happen. And then hell for 21 years of opioid addictions, operations after operations after operations, that nothing worked, to the point of attempted suicide. And from that point, it's like, you know what? God kept me here for a reason. That was the third time out of that I should not be here. The other two was ODs from the hospitals because they couldn't get my pain under control. One of them was 9 seconds. Yeah, okay, a lot of people, that happens to them on a nightly basis.
I'm trying not to slam the VA too much, but I am not surprised.
31 seconds, on the other hand, I was clinically dead for 31 seconds due to opioid overdose. Yeah. So when I say I shouldn't be here, I shouldn't be here. The good Lord kept me here for a reason, and this right here is why. It has lit a passion in me like there's no other. And to see the people that go fishing with us talk about things that's deep, dark, but it's like all of a sudden you puke it up and you feel so much better about it. And the more you talk about it, it's like the easier it becomes, and the easier it becomes, it starts fading away. And when that happens, that's when the peace starts. And that's where I'm at. It took a long time for me to get to that point, all the way to the point of being homeless for eight months. I've been through it all. Successful career started twice, family, 2 kids, ended up divorced, homeless on the streets, hooked to opioids, and I've kicked it all. And now I put in this news release for this adventure. It was just 4 short years ago. And I mean 4 short years ago. It is November the 11th. Or no, 11/14. 4 years and 5 days ago, I was homeless on the streets of Lansing, Michigan. And to think, okay, 4 years and 5 days later, I'm sitting here talking to you about a nonprofit that I started, that I'm going to take a boat trip around Florida that's 1,350 miles promoting PTSD and suicide awareness, I would have told you you're absolutely out of your damn mind.
Well, here's the thing though, Steve. Like this is what you did. You exemplify what I talk about, what we need to do. You did exactly what I tell people. What we need to do is we need to start taking control of our lives again. And so what you ended up doing was, after our conversation, you and I'm not irritated by this, but you called me every day for like a month and a half.
Oh,
and
I know.
You're like, dude, what about this? What about this? And I'm like, yes, keep running down that road. And so like I've helped start 6 different nonprofits now, right? I'm silent in the ones that I help. I don't talk about it unless they want me to.
Right.
And they're doing okay, but you're killing it, man. And you had the passion, you had the desire, right? And so I tell people all the time in that book, Think and Grow Rich, they say once you have a definite purpose in life, everything starts to make sense and everything starts to fall in place. Look what has happened to you in the last year and a half, man. I'm so fucking proud of you. Sorry, I'm not supposed to swear. I'm so proud of you, dude. And you know, I tell people all the time, what I do, there's zero selfishness, right? Other than the little bit of, I get to see somebody improve their lives and that makes me happy. And that essentially is my addiction. You know, I'm obsessed with helping people improve their lives.
How I am with this, and it's just to see the people that have gone fishing with us talk about dark things, talk about funny things, and the perfect example with Shiloh and Jamie. We were going from one spot to another, and they got so comfortable with us and relaxed that they were sitting up in the front 2 seats, and they just kind of reached out and grabbed each other's hand. And we're just cruising along, enjoying the ride. They're looking at the scenery and absolutely loving the day. And it was supposed to be a 4-hour trip and ended up being 8 hours we had a blast and created a friendship like I didn't think would happen. I really did not think would happen. And since then, we have talked more. And September 11th of this year, 20th anniversary of 9/11, I was part of a group that got to witness 2 homes given away to veterans in Nashville, Tennessee. I got invited to that by Shiloh.
Was that the one with Lee Greenwood?
Yes, that was absolutely amazing. I call Shiloh up and say, hey, where do I come? And he says, just let the security guards know you're with the veterans. And when you get there, you got a parking spot over there by Lee's bus. And I'm thinking to myself, Lee's bus? Yeah, who's Lee? And then we get there. And
for those who don't know, he's the one that sings that God Bless the USA song that everybody knows.
And here's the funny thing about that video I had mentioned at the beginning about July 3rd and pissed off and everything. That's the song in the background that's playing. And I had the opportunity to talk to him for 45 minutes. And he told me that song was actually just supposed to be a filler song. It was not supposed to be anything special. It was just supposed to be one of those songs you put on the album to add one more song to it. And that's it. And next thing you know, it blew up and he's sung all over the world, that song. That song kept me alive a few times. And so to tell him thank you was pretty cool. But when he actually told his manager to give him a minute and reach down and grab my hand, and he tells me, thank you for everything that you're doing, I'm floored.
That's so cool, man.
Floored.
You get somebody who sang this song, right? So anybody who has heard the song "God Bless the USA," you know that song, right? It's a good song, and it's a good patriotic song. You hear it every 4th of July, right?
Yeah.
And in our growing up, it's like, oh, that's a famous musician singing a really cool song, and then you actually get to meet them in person, and it's like, hey, thank you. It's like, no, what? I'm just a guy. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
that's really cool though, man. When you send me that picture, you and Lee, and I'm like, oh, this is so cool.
Yeah,
I'm jealous. A little jealous.
Then that night we got invited to go to dinner with that whole crew, to Paula Dean's restaurant.
Yeah.
And normally, shut the door. Normally, somebody just walked in.
It's all good.
It's a 2 or 3 hour or 2 or 3 week waiting period to get in there. And we just they said, come on. And we walked in there like we were hot shit. I mean, it's like I walked in there, they're strutting and like, yeah, buddy. And Shiloh and a couple other people was at our table, and I told them that they are to I've got their
it's all good, brother.
I've got their paycheck or their bill for that night. I said, I've got it. Y'all are my guests. X-22 Adventures is going to take care of your supper.
Nice.
And they said, no. I said, yeah, I insist. And so we had a grand old time. We were there for a couple of hours, and I mean, just everybody cutting up. There's probably 100 of us all total. She had closed down the entire back room for us to come in, and
that's
so we're getting close
too, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it ain't little. And so we're getting ready to go, and I called the waitress over, and I said, I need the check, please. And she looked at me, and she goes, Sugar, you didn't hear? And I said, hear what? And she goes, oh, Miss Paula Dean, she done called up here about an hour ago and said, there ain't one person in that group going to pay for their meal. Do you hear me? And I said, do what? And she goes, Paula Dean paid for your supper. And that's like,
oh, that's amazing.
Holy cow. So, yeah, when I say X-22 Adventures has changed my life, yeah, it's changed it in so many good ways. But I have to give all the thanks to the good Lord. He kept me here for this reason, and has lit a fire underneath my ass that I'm ready to roll. Once I get my leg back on, they're going to have to hold me. They're going to have to hold on to me because I'm not going to slow down.
Well, dude, like I've told you a million times, you're probably sick of hearing it, but I'm proud of you, man. Like I
appreciate it, brother.
I tell people all the time, I have a lot of people reach out to me and say, dude, what do you do this for? Right? Because a lot of people, I don't get paid for Warriors Next Adventure, and I probably never will. I don't really want to.
Right.
Even for taking, millions of dollars a year, I'd rather put that into the events and the shit that we want to do for veterans, right? There's no point in that.
That's
my main goal is to help as many people improve their lives as possible, because that's what I get out of it, right? So now I get to watch you on Facebook. I get to watch people who I've had really in-depth conversations about life and about, figuring out what's next and how to help them, guide them through the darkness, right? I get to sit and watch them improve their lives, right? I don't run around telling people. Anybody who I talk to, nobody will ever know that they talk to me unless they tell people. So I personally get to sit there. I guess it's a weird voyeurism, I guess. But I get to watch them. Yeah, you get to watch them improve their lives and become happy and fucking actually live their lives the way that we're supposed to. And there's no better prize in the world than knowing that you had an impact on somebody. And so I ask people all the time, how are you impacting the world? How are you making it better for the people around you? And if you really want to be happy, you need to figure out what you can do to make the world around you better. And, Gandhi said it best. You got to be the change you want to see in the world. Fix yourself and then spread it to other people, and you are killing it, man.
I appreciate it. I've got good people behind me that love me to death, and they keep me on a straight and narrow. And they do. They grab my belt and pull me back and say, "Whoa, slow down." Because I'm, as they say, you're supposed to learn to walk before you run. Well, to hell with walking. Walk. I just went from crawling to sprinting, and it had caught up with me for a little bit because I did have to slow down.
Yeah. Well, the thing is,
but it was a good thing. It allowed me to regenerate my batteries and to get prepared for this coming up adventure this next year. And I'm going to need it because 26 days on the water.
Yeah, it's going to be rough,
straight,
man.
1,350 miles. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, man, you're doing something that is not only, and I tell a lot of folks, like, the nonprofit world, you're not going to get rich. You're not going to make money, right? But
I don't want to make money. I want to make people
I'm
happy.
well, exactly. But I tell people like, well, I am rich. I'm rich at heart because, people
Amen.
call me and say thank you, right? That,
Yes.
Both of us struggled with suicide, and many people know that, I struggled with it, and I still tend to struggle with it, but
Yeah.
I have a purpose now. I have a reason to continue. I have a reason to wake up every single morning. And when a veteran calls me and says, "Hey, thank you for what you said," or "Thank you for kicking me in the ass," or "Thank you for calling me out on my BS," or helping me see what I couldn't see, and it's like, dude, thank you, because you are literally giving me a reason to keep breathing. So it's like,
well, you are too. I mean, the one thing that really kicked me in the ass with all this is the story that you told about the trip to Mount Elbert. I mean, 14,440 feet. Good God Almighty! Damn,
it
brother.
was hard, man.
I couldn't imagine. But then you tell me y'all hear an F-16 fly, and
Dude,
it's below you. Oh
coolest
my
thing
God!
I've ever seen in my life.
I mean, that had to give you the biggest Woody.
Dude, so
come on.
For those of you guys who don't know, every year for Warriors Next Adventure, we do what's called the WNA Top 50. And we started doing a lottery. So the first 5 people to raise $500 get an all expenses paid trip to Colorado. We fly you out for 5 days. We get an Airbnb, and I put you through the 6 principles program, essentially. And so it's a program that I created for myself to help pull myself out of the darkness. And I realized that it's really helping other veterans too. So I was like, all right, well, I'm going to start doing a retreat. And so we were in Mount Elbert in 2000. It was last year, 2020. And so we were climbing the mountain. We get up to about 14,000 feet. Now I have a hole in my heart. And so I probably shouldn't be climbing mountains, but I'm not going to stop. And I got to the point where I hadn't eaten at all. And so my blood sugar was low, and I almost passed out. So I had to sit down. And we're sitting there. There's a huge valley right next to us, right? And I could see down that valley. It was probably 2,000-3,000 feet down. No, I was an Air Force cop, right? So I know the sound of jets because I sat there staring at them for 6 years.
Oh, I know. Oh, yeah.
And dude, next thing you know, I look at my buddy Tommy, and I just hear, I'm like, bro, that's a jet. I was like, what do you think that is? I was like, I'm going to guess it's an F-15. I look down, and here comes just flies right by us, an F-16 below us, right? We were actually higher than this thing. And he was doing a flyby of the peak, and everybody was just like, "Whoa!" It was the coolest thing I've ever seen, man.
Yeah, I mean,
it was awesome.
That's what I mean. That's a story that you can tell for the rest of your life. That is something that just a few people experienced, but everybody else like,
and there's
holy
no
shit!
Video.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the way it always happens. When the best thing.
I tell people all the time, there's always going to be signs that you're doing the right thing. Like Jeremy, it was shortly after, I don't think I told you this, but me and Jeremy were sitting on the beach at like 9 o'clock at night. Well, it was later. It was probably about 11 o'clock at night. And I tend to force people to have heart-to-hearts with me. And we were talking about life, and I know, right? You've been a victim of that.
Yep.
But we're talking about life and how there's going to be signs that you're doing the right thing. Once you start doing the right thing, your heart will know it, right? And so here we're sitting here talking about, it's like, sometimes we just don't see what's right in front of us. And then next thing you know, he punches me. I'm like, what the hell are you hitting me for? Like, it's dark out, right? He hits me, and I look and I'm like, dude, what the hell? And I look over, there's a giant sea turtle. Now, when I say giant, I mean, this thing had to have been at least 300 pounds. It was massive. So if I had to guess, its head was probably a foot and a half in diameter. It was massive. And
size of a large watermelon.
Yeah, pretty much. And so I look at him, and I just smile like, wow, like what?
Yeah.
It's so beautiful, right? And there's no video, no pictures. He got his phone out. I'm like, no, don't take a picture. Because there's certain points in life where you have to really start to think, like, there's going to be turning points in your life. There's going to be certain points in your life, certain things happen, and you just go, I know I'm doing the right thing. And sometimes on my trips, I like to hold those things for myself. I don't like to share them. And so the F-16 flying by, the turtle coming up on the shore when we were just sitting there, there's so many beautiful,
Yeah.
This guy said getting them synchronicities. Yeah, dude, life is just synchronizing,
Yes, exactly. And it has for me. I mean, this last year and a half has just been crazy, wonderful. Every word you can think of for positive has happened to me in the last year and a half since X-22 started. And I'm thankful for it. Good Lord has put me in a position now to where I'm able to start helping others get to where I'm at. I mean, I'm smiling, I'm happy, and I am just loving life. I mean,
and you're doing
what's
what you
not to
should
love?
do. Exactly. And you're doing what you need to do. Same with me. Anytime that you're struggling or you kind of find yourself at a crossroads, you call somebody, right? So we still talk probably 3, 4, 5 times a month. I mean, we'll text each other a lot, but that's the thing that I told you is like anytime you're struggling, call me. And the fact that you continue to call me tells me that we're doing something right together.
Yeah, you are.
But hey,
before I know we got to get ready to go.
Yeah, we got about a minute and a half.
If you go to our webpage, we have 2 giveaways going on for Christmas time. Okay. One of them is a week stay in the Keys at a house that's got a 60-foot dock in the back. The house is paid for. So that's what it's for.
Is it this one on the bottom?
Yes, both of those.
Grand Slam and Florida Keys Getaway?
That's the Florida Keys Getaway is the house, and the Grand Slam is a fishing trip on the west coast of Florida to go after 4 species of fish in one day. Nice. That's a $1,200 trip. The house is a $3,500 week stay. So if you go there, you got a chance. We'll be doing the drawing on December 22nd. Imagine that. Nice. I was almost thinking about doing it at 2,200 hours, and I thought, no, not 10 o'clock is a little too late.
Yeah, well, Steve, so I'm happy you're on. We actually have to get off. We are going to be heading over to Patreon. So, Steve, I'm going to drop you off, do my closing here, stay on, and then I'll send you a new link. So we can kind of get some little extra bonus feature for the guys who are our Patreon members. So, Steve, thank you so much. I love you, man. Keep doing what you're doing. And I'm so proud of you, dude.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Obviously, me and Steve have been doing a lot of work together. I'm so proud of this dude. And anybody who I have conversations with, to kind of help them find purpose, you got to remember, nobody can heal you but you. Nobody can actually get you to the point of happiness but you, right? Other people are only there. Like counselors, their only job is to help you, give you tools to actually be able to help yourself, right? A counselor is not going to save you. I'm not going to save you. The only thing I'm going to do is help you kind of see what you're not looking at, right? So you have to understand, life is about perspective. If you're looking at a 6 and you have somebody on the other side saying, no, that's a 9, you're saying it's a 6. Well, technically you're both right. It's also a 1 if you lay down on the side and you look at it, right? So you have to look at life from different angles. And so essentially what I do with Warriors Next Adventure is help people see the other angle. You have to ultimately be responsible for your own mental health, and reaching out is one of the best things you could do. All right, guys. We have a Patreon account. It is called Veterans Action Report, if you couldn't guess. We do extended information and extended bonus features every single episode. If you head over to Patreon, look at Veterans Action Report. It's $5 a month. You get access to everything on the Patreon. And then also, if you sign up, I'll send you these really cool VAR stickers. Oh, everybody loves stickers. Or you can shoot me an email at nick.varradio@gmail.com. Pretty easy to get a hold of us. All right. I love you guys. We're going to be heading over to Patreon. We will be on next week. Me and Andrew are going to be talking a little bit. We got some bones to pick with the VA system, and we're going to be getting into that pretty deep. So I will see you guys next week.
Perfect.